Have you guys ever had icebreakers at the beginning of the year in school and everyone's going around talking about what they did this summer or their favorite hobbies, and you're sitting in the classroom nervous because all you did over the summer was play games and that's lame? Did you think calling yourself a gamer would be social suicide? If you feel this is you, trust me, it's not just you. Hello everyone, this is Leaf again writing. I wasn't planning on continuing uploads, but after my reflection video hit the algorithm and I got all this wonderful praise that I want to continue chasing, the cogs have been beginning to turn mentally. Thank you guys so much. Though I've gotten vastly better at expressing vulnerability in the past few months, there's still a side of me that was quite nervous, as I'm sure exists with everyone when you present a more vulnerable side of yourself. Luckily, I ended up being met with open arms and it made me really happy. I was replying to as many comments as I could on Sunday in my downtime at the library I work at. Thank you all again. Regarding this channel, I have much more gameplay recorded than Neurons to Fire, so I'm not so sure about what to upload next. So please give me suggestions. I want to trek through and test out this childish desire that lives in the back of every Gen Zer's mind to upload to YouTube, to become a YouTuber. I say all this to say, if anyone watching has any suggestions for me for videos, anything you'd like to see, please let me know. I'll be forever indebted to you. All throughout high school, I was a hardcore TF2 grinder. In my prime, I was putting in roughly 50 hours a week. While I was obsessed, I was also ashamed. It was something that I hoped I could bury and move past, but I was stuck in my cycle. I thought I was wasting my time by spending it all online. I'm gonna spend the rest of this video imagining I had a time machine I could use to give my 15-year-old self a good old talking to. The meat of this video, something I wish I learnt then, was that the sense of shame I felt so strongly was only influencing me in a negative way. I would tell younger me to not take shame in enjoying video games or being considered a gamer. In my past, I've observed others argue about the greatest and least great forms of media. Think of a hierarchy, if you will. People might say TV is generally lower brow, then film is a little higher brow, then things like classic literature you would consider highbrow, refined works. I had no hierarchy in my head, but by comparison, I felt that video games were a pariah, you could say. The best books I've read, films and TV I've watched, and music I've listened to I have no doubts of their status as artistic masterpieces, but can I call a game an artistic masterpiece? Can you call a game art at all? Judging by the shame I felt for playing so much TF2, I incorrectly saw games as pieces of slop on a tray, while overlooking their artistic potential. The theme is that my definition of art was too narrow, and for the record, presently I believe art is anything we can interpret meaning from. Calling video games an art form is strange to older people or those who didn't grow up on games, but hear me out on why I think a good game is so special. The whole point of art is to interpret it, whether your interpretation is focused on it as beauty or as a political message or any other way at all. Okay. So you watch movies, you read books, and you listen to music. But meanwhile, you play games. Games are a distinct art form in the sense that, unlike all those other arts where you're interpreting the art in front of you, in games, you become the art. You're straight up the performing act. The background footage, my performance today, is some Barn Blitz I played last night, which I think is a good showcase of how to create impact on Pyro even when the circumstances aren't very favorable. I was playing against a stack of heavies and crits medics while trying to push Barn Blitz last, which, since I can remember, has been one of the most devious points in all of TF2. I think it is also a good summation of my gameplay. It's how I always play the game. It feels authentic to myself. Whereas the interpretation of a book are the thoughts in your head, the big advantage of the medium of video games is that interpretation of a game is by playing it. This allows for essentially limitless self-expression. I can authentically play Pyro. I can play him in a customized way that is representative of who I am at my core. Personality bleeds through in all of our gameplay. TF2 is excellent at this, allowing your personality to shine. I'm nothing close to a game design expert, so I can't tell you in perfect detail why TF2 is such a satisfying game to play, why it hits the spot, But I believe class design is one of the reasons why. One of the big reasons. The classes are blank slates. They all start at the origin of a graph, and when you pick one, you can go off into any quadrant you want. Beyond being able to pick any coordinate as a player, self-expression is also in the hats. I've always admired how YouTubers and competitive players are able to build their own brands simply by wearing a specific loadout. It's not just that games can be art. I think you can express yourself the same way you can by playing jazz. And I say that as someone who plays the saxophone. Art is such a fluid concept. Media is art, so are the words we speak. Further, we ourselves are art. Something I've come to understand in the past year or so is that the same way that dressing flamboyantly will affect one's interpretation of you, so does dressing plainly. Every action, as simple as choosing what clothes to wear, reveals truths about the self. My high school self was hesitant, out of fear, to ever develop style. I didn't understand the implications of this decision, or I should say, lack of one. A lesson I'd really like to convey in this video is that upon developing style, people will treat you so differently. In my day-to-day, I went from a guy who wore graphic tees and baggy sweatpants to a striped shirt supremacist. I've gone on eBay and Poshmark and bought a few rugby shirts and bought a few pairs of shoes at my local mall to match the stripes. Simply investing $400 to $500 to update my wardrobe, which, granted, is a lot of money, especially for someone young, has transformed how I'm perceived. I definitely noticed that people smile at me more. A lot of men, me included, aren't really encouraged to find style in our youth. I think it's something we have to go on an expedition on later in life to find. I think this is a bummer. I recommend people try, even if just a little, to find new things you like wearing. From my purely anecdotal experience, I feel like a more respected individual. Even when I'm in uniform at the gas station I work at, wearing a necklace and a bracelet gives me a boost socially. I stand up straighter than I used to. Perhaps people perceive me the same, and all that's changed is my self-confidence, but the effect's the same. Maintaining consistent style is a marker of discipline, which may be one of the most universal, critical traits to have for success. It goes both ways. Those who have discipline are more likely to maintain a signature style, but also, developing style is a way to develop discipline. This was a rant, sorry. It's just that style is something that was never pushed on me, and I wish it was. The same way I couldn't see style as an art, I couldn't see games as an art either. It's a fair question to ask. Why does any of this matter at all? Because I didn't have proper respect for the medium of video games, I resented myself for the countless hours I spent on my computer. The consequence of this was that familiar feeling of shame. To divert myself from this shame, I indulged further in games, which created more shame and more to escape from. The cycle repeated daily, but I wasn't cognizant of it. I was effectively an Ouroboros with my tail permanently in my mouth, self-cannibalizing. Likewise, because I didn't see the artistic potential in dressing myself, I was only reaching a fraction of my potential of my identity. The similarity is that because my definition of art was so narrow, these domains of style and games were both excluded. It's only things that we see the beauty in that we call art, and so I was blind to the beauty in front of me. The natural question to then ask is, how do you learn to see things in a new light? How do you change perspectives? For me, the work of Proust was instrumental. Marcel Proust's masterwork, In Search of Lost Time, is one of the largest and most dense books ever written. On and off over the past year, I've only made it through 2 of the 7 volumes. It's way above my pay grade. That being said, it's still been a concrete influence on me. His prose is so vivacious and lush, every flap of a butterfly's wing is a paragraph woven like it took years to write. Additionally, Proust is a master of fleshing out characters. Every minor character introduced seems more lifelike than half of the people I meet on the street. Vague references will be made to a character who hasn't been mentioned in 300 pages, the same way you think about your elementary school classmates under a hazy lens. Moreover, a great writer adheres to the universal. Though the setting of In Search of Lost Time is of French aristocracy, the truths Proust gleans are universal. The only limit to the bounds of art in Proust's eyes are the corners of his eye. I thought, if he can funnel everything he says into an artistic blender, then why can't I? Why don't I? The overarching message I want to convey is that we shouldn't feel the need to regret the time spent in games. It used to be on my mind constantly. How do I reconcile the 7,000 hours I've spent playing Team Fortress 2? That's a massive sum of time. Fuck, I think. I did 7,000 hours of math or learning languages, I could speak Mandarin, and I could have conducted topology research. Really though, it's not something I need to reconcile. TF2 is art, and by playing it, I've expressed myself. You see in my gameplay that I love the opportunity to showcase my personality. I actually have more fun than ever playing this game now than any other time in the decade I've played total. As my time machine runs out of battery, and I'm being forced to say goodbye to my old self, I feel satisfied with the lessons he learned. 1. Art is everywhere, and 2. Care about art.